Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 236th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Rebel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
Doing great, Cameron. As always, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I've been a little bit busy the last couple days, so I haven't been able to relish in the brackets yet.
What have you been up to?
Just work. It's
Work, being a dad.
And 1-year-old. It's keep you busy. So really, I still have to look forward to filling out 50 plus brackets on every website that'll allow it.
Yeah, I've kind of started the process. I won't even lie. I'm knee deep in them. I probably filled out like 15 of them at this point. So it's like this 4-day glorious period, you know, where it's like I gotta just fill them all out. You know, I apologize to anybody that's like, you know, does that one bracket and they just watch it religiously the whole tournament or whatever. I'm a portfolio guy, you know, where
diversified.
And I'm not trying to like win any contests necessarily or anything. Like, you know, I'm not like, I don't feel like 20 brackets. Then I'm like, I had one bracket that was really good. I'll try not to do that.
Yeah.
But it's just fun for me to see how they all do.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I just mess around with like, let's see if all the defensive teams on KenPom, let's have all of them winning and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I like to mess around with like trends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I'll pull up a bracket on the app or something and think maybe I want to look into it. And then I realize that's not how you do it. For me, anyway, I need to sit down with my computer and really just
looking at all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen to some music or something and just let it be my time, you know. Undivided attention,
of course,
is what it needs. I haven't had much of that to go around recently, but don't worry, I'll make time for it. Obviously, we have to talk about the NCAA tournament this week. We are also dipping back into football news. There's some football recruiting news to talk about. The university, the athletic department spent some money recently on somebody's contract. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we'll talk about Missouri back in the big dance. And maybe we'll give you some picks for filling out your brackets. Before we get into all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us. And, of course, you can support us directly on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Let's get this football stuff out of the way. I'm still in basketball mode.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah. You know what is actually starting right now in basketball, but we definitely don't have time to talk about?
Coaching carousel?
Coaching carousel
Transfer
and portal season.
Oh, my gosh.
It just like,
actually,
it kind of snuck up on me.
That's a good point. Like, the past couple of years, it's like transfer portal season is like super exciting.
Yeah.
Because we're not in postseason play, and it's like, all right, let's see if we can improve this team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would prefer what we're doing right now.
Absolutely. There's time for portal season. We don't need to look too much into it yet. For football, though, we got a few commitments. Mizzou football got a commitment from 3-star offensive lineman / tight end, Ryan Justice. Ryan is from Washington, Missouri. He had offers from Colorado, Illinois, Kentucky, among others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second in-state commitment so far of the 24 class. Definitely a guy who's athletic and has kind of the ideal offensive tackle build. Is kind of a guy that like long arms, definitely like a big frame that can put on more weight. So probably not a guy that's going to come in and contribute immediately, but could be a really good player down the line.
Yeah, 24/7 Sports has him at 6'6", 280.
Yep.
That's a big guy for junior in high school.
Yeah, especially as a tight end. That's a big tight end running around out there, and especially in high school.
Then Missouri also got a commitment from 3-star quarterback Daniel Kalen from Bellevue, Nebraska.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure. And I feel like we've said it the last couple of years about how important it is to get the the quarterback on board early, just kind of the leader of the class, kind of start getting the recruiting efforts going, give those offensive players kind of something tangible to look to as like, okay, this is the guy that I'd be playing with if I commit to Mizzou.
It's not an accident anymore. Like,
Right.
this is not a coincidence that Drink goes and gets a quarterback early
For sure.
in the process.
Exactly. And I think that's just kind of a trend that college football is going for in general. I think they like to have their quarterbacks commit early, and for all those reasons. But Daniel is an exciting player. He's he's kind of a pocket passer, but definitely can move around in the pocket. Can be mobile if he needs to. But I think probably his arm is the most interesting thing that he brings to the table. He's a very accurate passer. The ball really pops out of his hand for sure. I watched an interview with him, and he just seems like a very well-spoken kid, like very mature. Seems like he's kind of just has a good plan for his recruiting journey, and kind of knew what he was looking for. And I'm excited about him being at Mizzou.
I could have this completely wrong and look like an idiot, but was he tweeting with talking to Ryan Wingo on Twitter? Was that him?
Yeah, before he committed, about maybe playing at the same school.
We need everybody who is committing to Mizzou to reach out to Ryan Wingo and say, hey, maybe let's play together.
Yeah, but definitely Kalen had a lot of offers, a lot of Power 5 offers. Colorado was one of the finalists. I think he had mentioned Kentucky being in there as well. So, and several other similar ranked schools. So it's a good get.
Yeah, pulled him out of Nebraska. Didn't even go to the home school.
Wow.
What do you think about that? We'll see.
Guess we'll see.
All right. I think that's it for football. We're not really, I don't see any real reason to recap the SEC tournament too much. But in between Missouri beating Tennessee and losing to Alabama, it was announced that Dennis Gates would receive a contract extension after leading the Tigers to one of their best season since joining the SEC. Would you be willing to say that? Top 4 in the conference.
For sure.
Pretty much have to.
Especially if they win a tournament game, that discussion's over for sure.
Absolutely. So Dennis Gates got a contract extension, got a pay raise from $2.5 million a year to $4 million with built-in raises on top of that. And if another program were to come along and try to hire him away, his buyout was already pretty high at $14 million. It is now $25 million. So if you had any doubt whatsoever, there is zero chance that he's going anywhere else to coach this offseason or probably any offseason the next 3 years.
Yeah, probably. I don't know that I've ever heard a buyout that large, honestly. We're in the first year, obviously, but
it's the most it'll ever be.
That makes a big difference, but that's just an astronomical buyout, and I agree with you. He's not going anywhere for a minimum of 3 seasons with that kind of money on the line.
And if somebody did pony up for that, then we could turn around and use that money to hire whoever we want.
Exactly.
But I don't want anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like Dennis Gates is everything. Like, before the season, when we were talking about, what are you excited about Gates? What did you think about the hire? I think it was easy to look at his college seasons at Cleveland State and kind of say, like, well, the record win-loss is like maybe a little bit underwhelming. But when you just looked at who he is as a man and who he is as a coach and his relationships and what other people in the industry were saying about him, it kind of just feels like, man, we really hit like the top of his range of stuff, like at least this first season of like what we could have ever hoped for.
Yeah.
And it's just been really fun to see him be able to kind of coach the way he wants to coach with better players than he's ever had before, but also still kind of that familiarity and guys kind of buying into the culture that he wants to instill. And it just feels like, it's easy to say this when you're winning, but man, it just feels like not only is a home run hire, but it seems like he's really comfortable here, like genuinely loves Mizzou and feels like he made a good decision.
Yeah, well, there was a radio interview or something, I can't remember. He talked about this a little bit after signing the extension, and he said that, Mizzou and Columbia is a place that he can see himself retiring from. And obviously, other coaches have said that before, and that hasn't worked out. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I
Easy
think
to say that whenever you are getting paid this kind of money. Like on the day you get a contract extension, it's pretty easy to say that. And 4 or 5 years down the road, you never know. Well, you have no idea what the feelings will be like from Dennis Gates or from the fan base. Like, so much can change in just a few years' time. But right now, it's looking incredible.
Yeah, and just to, like you were saying, going back to when he was first hired, you look at his resume, and if you just look at on the court, it's like, well, Cleveland State, he never got them, to a top 100 team in the country or anything like that. And maybe that's a little questionable. But then the second you look any deeper than just that, you see, the guys he recruited at Florida State, their relationship with CY, and the immediately, as soon as he started putting a staff together, it became obvious that this was an incredible staff. And then he started on the recruiting trail, bringing in the top JUCO guys in the country, the transfers he brought in, everything. The lowest moment for me, as far as what my expectations were, was literally like the first minute that I heard the announcement. Mm-hmm. And then just like looking at him on KenPom, basically.
Right.
I was like,
and Cleveland State's just a really hard place to win, though.
Right. So, but then, every second after that, where I looked any deeper into anything, I was just like, okay, actually, I like this. And this is going to be good. Yeah. And now he's my favorite person
in the whole world. Yeah. I mean, I think as Mizzou fans, it's, we're used to anything good just kind of like vanishing in front of us. Like we're you know what I'm talking about.
How does this fall apart, and how soon does it happen?
Yeah, that's how we're programmed to think, and understandably so. We've been through some things for sure. And so I think it's easy to think like, well, okay, Dennis Gates has been awesome. He's been a home run hire. How soon is he going to leave? And I do feel like maybe at one point I was kind of thinking like, I hope we can hold on to him. But the more I think about it, like, man, Missouri is a great basketball school historically. They're in a solid, very competitive conference with a lot of money. And
the SEC basketball wise, top to bottom, the best it's ever been.
Yes, and I think Missouri should expect to be in the top half of that conference year in and year out from really from here on out. And Missouri's paying him $4 million a year. Like that kind of money. I mean, anybody in the country would hope to make that kind of money. Yeah. So I think Missouri is saying we're ready to be a powerhouse basketball program, and so I think Dennis Gates is making plenty of money. He's probably not looking around for where can I make more money. He seems to be happy where he's at, and understandably so. Yeah,
and thinking back to like when Missouri joined the SEC, it was like they're probably going to be a bottom feeder in football, but this will elevate. We're bringing in a solid basketball program that shouldn't have any problem being, competing with Kentucky and Arkansas and Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And then like the football team obviously goes to 2 SEC championship games. The basketball team suffers under Kim Anderson, and is just like, wait, this is the opposite of what we thought was going to happen. And it's a shame that it took this long. I mean, Konzo, it was there. It was like the pieces were there, and like you could see a trajectory where that would have worked out and been something like this. But it just didn't materialize. And I feel like, honestly, having a younger coach who hasn't made a name for himself yet, and coming to Mizzou, and this is the place where he can make a name for himself and put down roots and all that stuff, it is really working out as best we could have hoped. Mm-hmm. And that includes Missouri making it to the semifinals of the SEC tournament for the first time ever.
Yeah. One more thing. Do you think they do you think they kind of heard some of the rumors going around that maybe some schools were going to prioritize Gates? I heard his name brought up for like the Georgetown opening, and obviously agents are a thing, even in college basketball. Like, we're dealing with amateurism to some extent, I guess, in college sports, but the coaches are very much professionals and they have agents.
Yeah.
And so the agents are working for their client, trying to get them a raise at really any opportunity they can. So I'm sure that that's possible, that it was just some posturing going on. But I like that they were like, oh, let's not even leave it up to chance if this is really happening or not. Let's just lock them down.
Yeah. I think when you just kind of look around at the landscape of college basketball and the coaching carousel and all of that, a big school trying to make a splash hire with an up-and-coming coach would look at a guy like Dennis Gates and be like, okay, he's only been at Mizzou 1 year. It's a bunch of seniors. He brought a bunch of his own guys. Let's just try to swoop in and bring him to our program and make him forget all about Missouri. And that would be the time to do it. And so for the athletic department to kind of realize that, I don't even think it had to be anything too explicit, but just like, we're not even going to have an environment around the coach that would let this go anywhere. We're just going to end any conversation like that before it even begins. I was happy to see them do it.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the SEC tournament. Missouri beat Tennessee. Feels like forever ago that happened.
It really does.
But then they lost to Alabama. Alabama went on to defeat A&M in the tournament championship.
Bama's good.
Yeah, they're really good.
And again, I'm not going to turn this into Kyle versus the computers, but I mean, like, freaking.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. Tennessee. I just can't. Watching those two teams back to back in back to back days, Tennessee and Alabama, I just felt like Alabama's defense was infinitely better than Tennessee's.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee missing Ziegler, obviously, but yeah, the way Alabama basically just like
they're so long.
They were basically letting Missouri drive into the paint. Missouri guards getting into the paint whenever they wanted almost, and then couldn't do anything.
Yeah, they would just like pick up their dribble and like panic and look for, trying to get it out.
I feel like all season, players like Golston and East have been able to get to their spot in the paint and make a basket, or at least get a good look. And against Alabama, they were getting to that spot, and then there was just nothing there.
Yep.
And Alabama was just encouraging it, basically. Like, yeah, sure, drive in here. You're not going to be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alabama on the offensive end, they get the ball wherever they want it.
Yeah.
They will be patient when they need to. They'll run in transition when they need to. And they have, I can't remember. Obviously, they have Quinterly, and I can't remember the other guard's name off the top of my head. But
Mark Sears.
Yeah, they're basically two guys that can handle the ball, drive, and pass like point guards.
Mm-hmm.
But then are also capable spot-up shooters.
They weren't even shooting well against Missouri. Like, I felt like they could have beat us by 25 if they really wanted. If they were just hitting the shots that they normally hit, which is kind of scary. And I'm not sure that really is an indictment of Missouri's play. I think Alabama's just that good. And Brandon Miller is genuinely like an NBA player right now.
Yeah.
And he can just do everything. Like shoot, he can distribute. He's big and can get in there and rebound. He's a threat from anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, Alabama missing shots from outside was keeping Missouri in the game. And then it was like we needed that like 8-0 run to
Bless you.
Gesundheit. We needed like that 8-0 run to just make them sweat a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And the opportunities were there, but we just couldn't convert around the rim. That's been I feel like the first time we played Alabama, same story. There's been a few of Missouri's losses, like against A&M, against Kansas. It was just like, we can't do anything around the rim to score.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything in that Tennessee game? I mean, that was just a fun game to watch.
That was fun. Yeah. Hodge played great.
Yeah.
Like 26 points or something like that. Kobe played really well.
Yeah, Kobe just 6 points against Alabama.
Yeah. There was definitely a few times in the Tennessee game where it felt like Kobe was like, all right, I'm the best player on the floor. I'm going to take over. And we just never saw that against Alabama because they're just a totally different team to play against. And obviously they were zeroed in on Kobe and kind of just took him away. But again, that's, we've talked about it before. In certain matchups, Kobe is a nightmare, and in certain matchups, it's a mismatch in favor of the other team because Kobe's a little undersized in some ways.
But nobody cares about any of that anymore because we had Selection Sunday. And we didn't have to wait very long to find out that Missouri is headed to California as a 7 seed to take on 10 seed Utah State from the Mountain West Conference in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, initial reaction without really like digging into it too much, I feel like this is like a pretty good draw without even looking beyond Missouri's first game, because if they win, they'll have a really tough game, but we'll get to that. But I think this is a pretty good draw for Missouri. I think there are scarier 10 seeds. I think Missouri could have been a 6 seed, but that's not where they ended up.
Before we jump too far into the matchup there with Utah State, it's worth pointing out Kyle did fill out all of his projected seeds, 1 through 16, picked every team, got 46 picks exactly correct. And if you compare that to the industry standard, which is ESPN, CBS Sports, and we went with one of our favorite computers, barttorvik.com, Kyle was at 46 correct, Joe Lenardi for ESPN, 46 correct, Jerry Palm of CBS Sports, 46 correct, and the computer, barttorvik.com, 42 picks correct. So, Kyle, you smashed the computer, and we're every bit as good as Joe Lenardi and Jerry Palm.
I still didn't really think that was going to happen. Like, I was kind of like keeping track of how well I was doing like during the selection show, and it felt like I was missing a lot. So I was definitely surprised when I kind of tabulated it out all at the end. But sometimes I feel like Joe Lenardi probably like is just trying to like set up matchups for clicks and stuff. So
I do feel like
he probably could have
some engagement farming from.
Yeah, he probably could have done a better bracket if he really wanted to. But
I feel like they would fine tune that like the last second, and
right?
Just be like, forget the intrigue of the matchups that are imaginary. Let me just try to get this right.
Right. Yeah, I felt like Florida Atlantic got hosed. I think I predicted them as a 7 seed, and they ended up getting a 9. I think that was the only one I missed by like more than one seed line.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, that kind of like 7 through 10, those seedings can be a little just kind of flipping a coin.
You had, let's see here. Oh, do you know the highest, and I'm talking about best ranked KenPom team that did not make the tournament? Can you think of that?
Rutgers.
Yeah. Rutgers.
They're probably like 30-ish, low 30s.
35th in KenPom did not make the tournament.
They got snubbed, honestly, in my opinion.
So let's see. Nevada made it in.
Mm-hmm.
They're 43rd in KenPom.
Pittsburgh was one of the last ones.
Pittsburgh. KenPom likes Pittsburgh.
I was going to say, I think the analytics actually like Pittsburgh.
Oklahoma State was another one that didn't make the cut.
They had like 14 or 15 losses.
Yeah, 18 and 15.
I was happy they did not make it.
Michigan didn't make the cut. North Carolina didn't make the cut. And then they were like, also, we don't want to play in the NIT.
Yeah. Yeah, North Carolina said that.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt also, they weren't even very close. I don't even think they were in the first 4 out.
Right. Man, I kind of, the more I thought about it, I was like, last time we recorded, I was like, yeah, Vanderbilt, they're not making it. And then I think if they would have found a way to beat A&M and make the championship, I think it would have been hard to keep them out, honestly.
Yeah, it's just kind of always like a topic of discussion, like how much those late conference tournaments really factor in. And I tell you what, if they would have won the SEC championship, then they would have been in, Cam.
Oh, I bet you're right. It'd be hard to keep them out. Do you know this is the last one, and we'll talk. We'll save more tournament talk.
We can do it all day.
Yeah. We'll save it for the end. The lowest ranked KenPom team in the tournament.
Oh my gosh.
They are a 16 seed.
I'd probably have to guess Texas Southern.
That's close. Texas Southern is
14 and 20.
Yeah. Texas Southern's second worst KenPom team at 285. Fairleigh Dickinson is 3-12 in
Gosh.
KenPom.
Did they just go on a run in their conference tournament or something? I don't know how that even works. Or they're just in a god-awful conference.
The Northeast Conference.
Never heard of it.
The best KenPom team was Merrimack. No, actually, Fairleigh Dickinson passed them at 3-12. Merrimack 3-15.
Wow.
And they are also, the Northeast Conference has the worst team in the country, according to KenPom, LIU. Northeast Conference.
Sounds like a fun conference.
All right, so we'll chat more about the tournament and our brackets and all that kind of stuff, and we will tell you how you can join our bracket competition after we talk about this first round matchup with Utah State. It's going to be Thursday at 12:40 p.m.
It's like the third game of the whole tournament, I think.
Yeah. 12:40 p.m. Are you going to take off work or take a half day? Do you always take off work Thursday, Friday first?
In the past, yeah, I actually have taken off work before, maybe at least on like the Friday or something like that.
Now you've worked your way up to where you can just watch it at your desk and nobody will care.
Yeah, I work kind of a hybrid schedule, so sometimes I can work from home. So we'll see. I'll have it on. I'll have it on in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will be home watching that for sure. Utah State, 26-8 on the season, 13-5 in the Mountain West Conference. You ready for this? 18th on KenPom, 13th on offense, 64th on defense. Second year for head coach Ryan Odom after spending 5 seasons at UMBC coaching the Retrievers, including when they beat number 1 seed Virginia as a 16 seed.
Yep.
UMBC, what does that stand for, Kyle?
University of... Oh my gosh, like Maryland something? Maryland.
Mm-hmm. What's B? What's B in Maryland?
Baltimore.
What do you think the C?
I have no idea.
University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Oh, okay. I was about to say college, and I was like, well, they already said university, so that didn't make sense.
The old Golden Retrievers.
Golden Retrievers.
Most docile mascot.
True.
Probably. Yeah, so 16 seed, knocked off Virginia. Then he gets a job at Utah State in their second season there, takes them to the NCAA tournament. They had a really good year, 13-5 in their conference, top 20 KenPom team, and they're known for their offense. They are known for their three-point shooting, especially junior guard Stephen Ashworth. He's shooting 44% on 237 attempts from three. He almost had a 50-40-90 season, which is 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the free throw line. We talked previously about Isaiah Mosley doing that last year for Missouri State, but he was just short. He shot like 88% on free throws.
Probably just ridiculous usage. He's definitely kind of like I don't know if you call him a point guard, but he's a really small guard, probably like 6 foot guard. Super like, I don't know, just he'll pull up from anywhere, and just imagine how many threes like Demoy Hodge just shot this year, and this dude has shot more and made more than Hodge. Like he just launches always, and he can get in the lane too. I don't know. He's a really, really good player. Very dangerous, and I'm sure very frustrating to play against.
Check this out. They have actually attempted the exact same number of threes.
Oh, wow.
237. But Hodge has only made 95 to his 104. But yeah, so watch out for him.
You just kind of do it everything kind of guard.
Yeah.
Do what am I trying to say?
Do it all.
Do it all.
Yeah,
kind of a do it all.
Yeah, he doesn't I don't think he has a double-double this year, but he's had multiple 9 assist games. He's had multiple 8, 9 rebound games. So even at 6'1" or whatever he is listed, he really is a do-it-all guard. To run through sort of my little scouting report that I put together here, you got to watch out for Ashworth. Taylor Funk is a 6'9" forward who is shooting 38% from three on over 200 attempts as well. They have a 7'1" center who has started every game this year, but only plays like 34% of the minutes. So I really don't think he'll be too much of a factor, but he does look intimidating at the tip-off.
But they do have a guy that comes off the bench that like has better production than him. Right?
Yes, Dan Aiken. He is a forward, a paint scoring threat for sure. Double figures,
Double machine.
Yeah, he's that type of paint scoring, high rebound, high motor guy, super athletic. He will remind us of, I feel like watching the game, he would fit right in on like Texas A&M or Mississippi State.
Just kind of a big body down low that won't step out and shoot, but will just kind of vacuum up all the rebounds down low.
Yeah, block a couple shots, scrappy, like high energy. So he can be a handful for sure down low. Their like two guard is Max Shulga. He doesn't shoot as many threes, but he's shooting 37% on the year. This whole team, they do their tempo is interesting. Fast tempo on offense, like they're shooting, they're getting the ball up the court in transition for quick shots. They're not using a lot of the shot clock. But on defense, their opponents actually use quite a bit of the shot clock and have slower possessions. So interesting dynamic there. They all are good at getting to the free throw line, and they're one of the best free throw percentage teams in the country. So offensively, they're a handful. And just looking at these two teams on offense, it's like we're maybe in for like two teams both scoring in the 90s or something.
That'd be fun, assuming we win.
What do you think? How does like Missouri's unorthodox defensive strategy?
Right.
I mean, Utah State not the best at preventing turnovers this year, so
yeah,
there's maybe an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of the X factor in my mind is that they are a little bit turnover prone, and I think that Missouri is going to be able to exploit that and really, I think Utah State is, you got to keep in mind they've been really good, but they're not playing at as high of a level for the whole season that Missouri's been playing at. I do think Missouri's defensive style, could Utah State just come out and just beat us by like 15 points because they just make everything? Yeah, I think that's within the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, they could go like 15 of 30 from three.
And they probably average 10 threes a game or more. So, yeah, it's very possible they could come out and just shoot the lights out and just easily win. So that's a little bit of a scary outcome, but ultimately I think that Missouri is going to be able to slow them down a little bit and kind of make them be conscious about kind of dribbling and not turning the ball over, because we know how scrappy Missouri is and how many steals they get and how many points they score in transition. If you think back to, really they've done it all year long, but if you think back to the beginning of the year when Missouri was playing a little bit worse competition and maybe that style of play that they're playing wasn't on the scouting report as much yet, they were just doing that like time and time again, just turning the other team over and just running down the court and getting an easy layup. I think we'll see some of that in this game, but it's tough to know exactly how it's going to go, but I for Missouri's favor, I like the turnover battle, and I also think Kobe could just be unleashed against this defense that I think the analytics think is okay, but I think Kobe could carve him up if he wanted to.
Yeah, Kobe is going to be a huge factor. I think Aiken. I think they'll try to put Aiken on Kobe to slow him down, and I think that will open up opportunities for like Noah Carter, whichever big, I'm using air quotes, whichever big they put Aiken on, look for the other one to have opportunities at the rim. And another thing about Utah State is they're not that deep. They play like 7 guys basically, and 4 of the 5 starters play like 30 plus minutes a game. So if we could get them in foul trouble, that'd be super useful. I was looking at their schedule, and they're in the same conference as San Diego State, who I think is a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. They lost to San Diego State 3 times this year. They split with Boise State. Actually, they lost once. They split with Boise State in the regular season and then beat them again in the conference tournament. So those are going to be teams more the caliber of what Missouri has faced this year. Utah State beat Washington State in a non-conference matchup early in the season, but they lost to two, these were probably quadrant 4 losses to Weber State and SMU.
Yeah, they're 1-2 in quadrant 4 games, which is crazy, honestly, to think about. Because quadrant 4, I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up this Weber State matchup. Weber State shot 50% from 3 and 49% from 2. And Utah State attempted 23 threes, but only made 8 of them. So that's 35%. An outcome like that is not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, when a team we've seen it from Mizzou this year. When you live and die by the 3 on offense, bad things can happen pretty easily. Mm-hmm. I was also looking at a matchup. Utah State actually beat Oral Roberts early this year.
But that was a high-scoring game.
It was 95-85.
Wow.
And in that game, Utah State shot 19 of 31 from 3.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen in the Missouri game, honestly. I think there's going to be a ton of possessions, and I think Utah State could attempt 30-plus threes, really maybe both teams.
Well, if they make 19 threes, that's bad news. We're going to need them to be like 12 of 30 at best, I think.
Yeah.
As far as Utah State's defense, I like Kobe. I think Aiken is a good defender. He's super strong, super athletic. He's listed at 6'9". Outside of him, I feel like there's some holes on the Utah State defense. And they are kind of content to, I don't know. They're kind of content to just keep you in front of them and just try not to let you get to the basket. So they give up. They give up a lot of open threes like Missouri does. So if that's happening and these teams are on, I need to look up. Producer Cameron, can you look up if Utah State is a Nike school? I wonder if they're used to the Wilson basketballs. I could really see this being a shootout.
Yeah.
I agree with you that I think Missouri absolutely wins the turnover battle, and that it could be like they could destroy them in the turnover battle.
Yeah, I think
that could win the game for Missouri.
I mean, they turned Alabama over a ton in the first half of the game a few days ago.
One of the reasons they stayed in it as long as they did.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly how many it was, but I feel like it was like 15 turnovers for the game. Or something crazy like that.
I think 11 in the first half.
Yeah, most of them, were in the first half. So I think Missouri could do that again against Utah State. And in this situation, I think that they could convert that better than they did against Alabama. So
I believe they are a Nike school.
Okay, we're on an even playing field there. Neither team will be used to the Wilson basketballs.
Wow, that's some real deep analysis, but I love it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, Utah State is favored in this game by Vegas. I think it's like a 1.5 favorite, which they might be the only favorite out of the 10 seeds. But you can see why. I mean, because I know the Sharps and Vegas are looking at KenPom, and I mean, I've listened to podcasts, I've listened to guys talking about what they look at. I know Vegas looks at KenPom. It's one of the primary analytics sites they're using, and they're seeing that Utah State has like a top 13 offense or whatever you said.
11th in three-point shooting.
Yeah, and then they see how terrible Missouri's defensive ranking is. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense that like, okay, Utah State's about to exploit this matchup, and without really kind of digging into the details like we've done the last few weeks. But so you can see on the surface, like if you're just kind of browsing like top level analytics, you could probably guess that it could be an interesting matchup, in which I'm not going to try and defend Missouri's 3-point defense.
Yeah.
Like it's not great.
But you have to have watched Missouri play quite a bit to even like to even make sense of their defensive analytics.
Exactly.
Yeah, like okay, this doesn't make any sense. Like
right.
Be this good at some things, this bad at others.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just kind of watch how it works in games. Yeah, to your point, though, Kim Pom likes Utah State by 4. And I'm not here for any of that.
Missouri's undefeated on neutral site
Sure.
this year.
Yeah. Well,
They
They'll-
killed Illinois.
SEC tournament.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They've played well.
UCF and Illinois were neutral site. I don't know. Am I crazy? I feel like even pessimistic me, who like always plans for the worst just to be like pleasantly surprised, I think I like Missouri in this game.
Yeah.
I think that Missouri will not have the rebounding struggles that they've had. I think any of the rebounding struggles in this game are going to come from just from the style of play. I don't think we're going to see teams just like, I don't think we're going to see Utah State, getting 10 plus more rebounds than Missouri because of their size and, making that a point of emphasis. I think it's easy to see how that happens in the SEC.
Yeah, against like Tolu Smith or somebody like
Yes,
that. Or
exactly.
Oscar Tshiebwe.
Yeah. But Utah State doesn't have that kind of guy.
Right.
Literally, I just keep going back to Aiken because he's the only player on their team that you could just substitute right into an SEC team and they would just blend right in.
Right.
Some of these other guys, I think you would be like, okay, yeah, they're, a prolific scorer or whatever, but they don't have the athleticism and size.
Right. Yeah. And when you think about what slowed Missouri down this year, it is guys like Tolu Smith. It is length of Arkansas or Alabama.
Yeah.
It's not because a team shoots threes well, and like Missouri, if you're a good offensive team, Missouri's just outgunned you this year. That's exactly how every game's gone that they've played against a team that's all offense. They will just score more points than you, and that's worked basically in every matchup where that's a factor. But the teams that do slow Missouri down are, like to your point, are teams that are athletic and big on the inside, and I don't think that Utah State presents that challenge.
Even Florida with Colin Castleton, it was like we liked Mizzou on paper, and the X factor was Castleton just being a force inside.
He had a great game. This is a weird location and time. Like, so they're playing in what is it, Sacramento? So in like Pacific time zone, and it's 12:30 or something like that Central Time. So they're playing at like 10:30 a.m.
Yeah,
in Sacramento. That's
that
super
is
weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
Like, I feel like they should have planned that a little bit better. Like, the early games are on the East Coast or something like that. But what do I know?
I am looking now at Missouri's game against Auburn because maybe if I was trying to find like the blueprint for this type of team, but Missouri shot 5 of 22 from 3.
Right.
And turned the ball over 16 times.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that was an outlier of performance, but I guess that could just be bias on my part. But that was really the only. I mean, that was like one of the worst basketball games I've ever watched.
Yeah, I mean, but So to that point, though, like you have to go to this outlier of a matchup that Missouri just played awful. One of the few games this year where they just weren't there at all ever. You have to go to that to find a team that comes close to, I think, the style of play that we're going to see. And even they have Janai Broome, who 6'10", went for a double-double against Missouri. I'm talking myself into just loving this matchup all of a sudden.
I really think it's a good matchup. I think I would have been more afraid of Penn State. Let's see who else we got here on the 10 line. Boise State, I don't know. That probably would have been a decent matchup too. But I was initial reaction, I was fine with this, and I think I still feel that way. Yes, Utah State could come out and just blitz us if they shoot really well, but I think Missouri's going to be in it. I think they'll be focused, and I think they're going to win.
I think even for the players and the coaching staff, everybody involved has to be looking at this like watching game film of Utah State. There's got to be a part of them that's just like, okay, this is how we want to play. Let's do this. Let's go put 100 on them.
Yeah, that's probably true. that they might be looking at the matchup the exact same way that we are looking at it in favor.
And
of
that's how
Missouri.
I want them to be thinking of it.
Yeah.
Like, go with that game plan unless, because it really feels like the only way we're not in this game is Utah State just shoots the ball at the top of their, range of outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Just don't let us score 70.
That's true.
That's the game plan.
Both teams are scoring 70 in this
Good
game.
freaking luck.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any chance either one of these teams is scoring in the 60s in this matchup.
Absolutely not. Not a chance.
Yeah, I'm looking at Utah State has lost 4 games this year while scoring 70 or more points.
Wow, you looked that up really fast.
Yeah.
That was a fast little scan.
I can skim Kim Pom pretty quickly. I know what I'm looking for. I've spent some time on this website.
Yes, you have.
Believe it or not. Anything else to talk about here? Let's see. I think we're gonna need our guys to shoot well. That's the thing. And like, I'm thinking about Carter. I'm really intrigued to see what Kobe Brown and DeAndre Golston can do in the paint.
Yeah.
Because the way Golston was, his finish to the season, I've just been so impressed with like his last 5 games before the Alabama game, where he's just loving these one-on-one matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with him as like kind of a bigger wing/guard, I think he'll be able to have some post-up opportunities and some good one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree. But also even just smaller players like Sean East or Nick Honor, watching, no offense, but watching Sean East try and operate the offense against Alabama was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
They were just completely taking him out of the game, and just like their length, and it was just a problem to put it nicely.
He was the main one where they were like, you can get wherever you want.
Right.
You can get as close to the rim as you want.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He did that a few times, and sometimes like passed up shots under the basket because they just weren't going in.
Yeah.
So I think that guys like that, this could be a game where they could feel a little more confident, kind of like operating the offense or getting inside and kind of dishing out from there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Are we just gonna look so bad after
We're
this?
either gonna look really good or really bad. There's no in the middle here, I'm afraid. Yeah, because
like
even if Missouri loses a shootout, I still feel like that's
we knew that could happen.
Yeah. There's 0 chances of a low scoring game.
No.
I mean,
if this game is in the 60s, then
that's just a bad basketball game. That's just teams not being able to make threes.
They're hungover from the night before or something. Like there's no explanation if it's a low scoring game.
Yeah. Give me Missouri. I mean, I think we definitely shoot better from 2. I think we can overcome them shooting better from 3 if we keep the rebounding margin close, destroy them in the turnover margin, which I really think will happen, and do some damage in the paint, which I definitely think we'll be able to do.
Yep.
That's the formula. I think they accomplish it. I think it'll be a fun game. Give me Mizzou 85 to 78.
Yeah, I'm gonna go even higher than that. Give me Missouri 89 to 83. I wonder what the over/under is for this game. I'll see if I can find that quickly.
I think we're pretty close to just reversing old Kenny's prediction.
Over/under is 154.5. So that's what, roughly like 75-ish range for both teams. So our predictions will be hitting the over for sure.
Yeah, Kim Pom says Utah State 83-79. It's kind of right in there where we are, but with the teams flipped. So it's worth looking at who Missouri would play in the second round, and that would most likely be Arizona. Arizona has a first-round matchup with Princeton, and they'll
No belief in Princeton.
I've got no belief in Princeton.
Me either.
And to be honest with you, Kyle, and everybody listening, I haven't looked at Arizona much this year. I know off the top of my head, they're a bad matchup for Missouri. They are number 10 in KenPom, 4th on offense, 41st on defense, high tempo.
They do not turn the ball over as much as Utah State.
Nope, and they shoot the three-pointer just about as well. And then they've also got one of the best players in the country at 6'11", a junior by the name of Azulis Tubelis.
Nice.
And he is pretty fun to watch. He'll probably go on to the NBA after this season. He was the number 1 player in the Pac-12 in possessions used. So he is their go-to guy. He scores in the paint, gets to the free throw line, makes his free throws. One of the best rebounders in the country. I think he'll give. It'll be like Tolu Smith, but a better version of him.
But like better scoring.
Yes.
Yeah, and a name probably everybody recognizes is Courtney Ramey.
True.
Who is a great guard, like big guard that doesn't turn it over, shoots well, like he's a scoring guard that distributes. And I would have
shooting
loved
41% from 3.
Would have loved to see him in a Missouri uniform, but that was clearly never meant to be because he had multiple opportunities and did not take any of those opportunities. But
it's good for him though to find a good landing spot in Arizona after leaving Texas.
I mean, like I feel like it's kind of easy to forget about those West Coast teams sometimes because they always play so late and everything. So I kind of feel like he's been off my radar a little bit this year, but he's quietly had a fantastic year. Yeah,
he's been solid for them. There's no way I could. I mean, Missouri, with the way they play, like, give me a chance against anybody just about.
Yeah.
We've seen that the very top of college basketball, Kansas, Alabama, they're operating at a level Missouri is not this year. And Missouri's having to, scheme their way around weaknesses to accentuate where they're good. And Arizona, they have an off shooting night. Missouri goes crazy from 3. Kobe Brown puts up 35. It could happen.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to predict it.
Yeah, I mean, none of these games look doable until they start playing the game. Every March I'm like, man, next year when I'm filling up my brackets, I need to pick more upsets. Like, because when the game tips, it's like, yeah, it's a 7 versus a 2 seed, but they're hanging tough. I mean, it's they're not that different.
Yeah. But
when you're looking at it on paper, it's like, oh, a 7 over a 2 seed. That's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. So regardless of what happens, if Missouri is able to pull off a win in the first round here, it would be the first time since since Norm Stewart was here. Just kidding. It'd be the first time in a while.
Yeah.
And it would cement this season as the best easily now. With an NCAA tournament win makes this the best season Mizzou basketball has had since joining the SEC.
Yeah.
I think we're already there.
Yeah.
But a win would
for sure
close the book on that.
I think we've lost 6 NCAA tournament games in a row, dating back to 2010 being the last win against Clemson. Was that the 7-10 matchup? Yeah.
We were the 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean for you?
I don't know.
I hope that doesn't mean the 10 seed's going to win again.
It doesn't. Don't even say it.
It doesn't even mean that.
That's definitely not what I was thinking.
So that's what, like the Obama administration? Last time Missouri won a tournament game?
That makes it sound like a long time ago. We're predicting wins here.
Yep.
Let's go get this win. Now for some fun stuff. If you want to listen to us talk about the rest of the NCAA tournament bracket and who we like, who we don't like, some fun storylines, where the intrigue is, that's what we're about to do. If you don't want to hear all that but want to participate in our bracket challenge group, We will probably tweet out a link to it at some point. But if you search Missouri Sports Pod 2023, you will find our bracket group. You can enter. Last couple years, we've given away a T-shirt to the winner. Last year, Kyle won, so somebody needs to dethrone him. But yeah, Missouri Sports Pod 2023 is our bracket group, and now we're going to give away all of our secrets of how we picked our bracket for the group. So you can fade our picks or copy us or whatever you want to do. Was there any? You talked a little bit about some of the seeds that seemed off. Talking about FAU. Was there anybody else that you just thought was like, maybe you stick to the SEC? Was there anybody in the SEC that you thought it just was completely misseeded?
Well, when I predicted the seeds, I did say that Tennessee would get a 4 seed, and I guess I understand why, but sometimes it's like, man, a top 4 seed, that's a big deal in the NCAA tournament. Like, you had to have had a spectacular season to get a 3 or 4 seed or above. I don't know. Tennessee's just weird, man. They have like 4 or 5 wins against like top 10 teams this year, but they're also really vulnerable, and they just don't really scare me that much, and I kind of feel like they could get upset in the first round. Honestly, probably like my biggest complaint is Arkansas. I feel like their resume is pretty weak. They did get Nick Smith Jr. back. Obviously, he's a great player. He's a future lottery pick, and he's been putting up crazy numbers since he's been back. But and weirdly enough, I still think that they're going to beat Illinois like 70% of the time. But I still just don't know that they deserved an 8 seed.
Yeah, I feel like with Tennessee, like Duke had kind of a iffy start to the season, but like they played Kansas really well, but Tennessee beat Kansas. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but Duke had a really strong end to the season, basically like the opposite of Tennessee. And I feel like it would have just make so much more sense. They're right there. Duke being the 4 and Tennessee being the 5, I feel like makes more sense in that region.
I agree with you. And then one other thing I think that was pretty glaring was Texas A&M and their seed. They got a 7. I predicted they'd get a 6, but honestly, I wouldn't have been mad if they got up even to the 5 line, just because they won like 17 SEC games, including the tournament.
Yeah, like
they have been playing as well as anyone in the country. In fact, I think they've been playing like a top 5, top 10 team on KenPom in like conference season. So I thought that A&M got hosed a little bit, and they drew a tough matchup in Penn State. I mean, that's not a game that they're a shoe-in to win, and I think they deserve to get a better matchup than that.
I agree with you there. So we don't necessarily need to go game by game here, but is there any on your official bracket for your podcast entry? Who knows how many we'll do when it's all said and done, but in your official bracket for the podcast, do you like any upsets in particular? One that jumps out to me is Furman over Virginia. I feel like that'll kind of maybe be a trendy one that a lot of people are into. But what do you think about that? Or do you have any other upsets that you like?
Yeah, I thought Virginia was a team that probably, again, did not deserve a 4 seed. I think they're pretty weak. I think the ACC is pretty bad. Virginia is really uninspiring to me, and we kind of know that they play that plodding, slow style where they're pretty susceptible to getting beat by teams that score a lot of points, and Furman does that. So I think that's a really good upset pick.
Any others that you like in particular?
Well, I was I'm trying to win this bracket group, so I will say that there's certain strategies I'm going with here. So I might.
What was your strategy last year?
I don't want to talk about it. I might have gone a little safer, just because this is not going to be like a 1,000-person tournament or anything. So I went a little bit safer and just was going to let variance do its thing, in the late part of the tournament. So I didn't pick a ton of upsets at the beginning. But I do agree Furman is one that stands out for sure. And then I think Louisiana is a team that could beat they're the 13 seed. I think they could beat Tennessee in the first round. They score a lot of points. And without Ziegler, I think Tennessee is vulnerable.
One thing that stood out to me was Iowa State. I feel like they're an easy first-round loss pick for me. If I'm doing, 10 brackets, I'm probably picking them to lose in the first round 6 times because they have just fallen off towards the end of the year.
Well, look again. They They fell off in the middle, but they kind of resurged at the end though.
Okay.
But that's fair. They have to play Mississippi State or Pittsburgh. That could be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I want Mississippi State to kind of have a good showing, and so maybe I'm willing that one into existence. But
well, I mean, it's tough to really argue anything when you're talking about March Madness because just literally anything can happen in this tournament. But in this particular bracket, I have Iowa State going to the Elite Eight. So we have pretty different outcomes for Iowa State.
Iowa State would definitely go to the Elite Eight if they got to play Baylor 3 times to get there.
Yeah, if Baylor's anywhere near them.
Yeah, that is kind of insane. Like I'm looking at Iowa State now. They lost. I mean, I'm not going to count them all, but like they were 13-2, and then were 17-12 a little while later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's losing a majority of games there. But then yeah, they beat Baylor twice. Once final game of the regular season, then the opening game of the conference tournament. That is kind of strange. So, but that's why, Baylor's all the way on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
So give me Mississippi State.
There you go. I think, and that is in the region with Houston. I think Houston is honestly one of the most difficult teams to know what to do with, just because they had an injury to Marcus Sasser, who's one of the best players in the country. Houston played against Memphis in the, AAC Conference Tournament Championship on Sunday, and they lost without Sasser. So they looked a little bit lost without their best player, and they could potentially lose to Iowa or Auburn in the second round game. I didn't predict that in this bracket, but I think that's something that definitely would not surprise me.
Yeah, if he's not playing, then I think you never know.
It is possible he could return, and we don't really know. His status is pretty unknown.
I bet he plays, but the fact that they're saying that they're not sure, and that game is Thursday, I feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards him playing. So yeah, let's take a look at, so who do you like in this bracket for the podcast? Who do you have in the Elite Eight? Let's do all 8 teams, and then tell me if there's a team that maybe, this is a minority of the brackets that you have them going that far.
Yeah. So I've got 1 seed Alabama playing against 2 seed Arizona.
Me too.
In the East, I have 5 seed Duke playing against 2 seed Marquette.
Okay.
Anything crazy there?
I have Purdue against Kentucky. I have Kentucky making a run. I like in the NCAA tournament, I like teams with a good big man, and Purdue and Kentucky both have that. I do have Duke and Marquette in the Sweet 16. I think those are going to be fun matchups in that region.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the big men from Arizona, Purdue, and Kentucky to kind of carry them.
Yeah, I don't know. Purdue is, again, another tough team to know what to do with deep in the tournament because they just have insane big men who can just do whatever they want. But they kind of just have slow guards that I think are a little bit underwhelming, but could very well just easily march to the Final Four also.
I feel like this is one of those Kentucky teams that people were Kentucky fans were thinking Coach Cal, they were talking about coaching change earlier this year, and I feel like he'll just go to the Final Four and just
Probably.
be like, yeah, I still got it, don't worry.
That's very possible. After they've had some disappointing NCAA tournaments though in recent years. Okay, so in the Elite Eight, I have Houston versus Iowa State on the in the Midwest region is what I should have said.
Okay, I have Indiana against Xavier. I think
I like Xavier.
Yeah, I like them. I think, unfortunately, whatever you think about Sean Miller, I think he's got it going on there.
Yeah.
And I would say if I was filling out 10 brackets, I probably have Texas going to the Final Four in 6 of those brackets.
Yeah.
I was looking at Texas' profile on KenPom, and they're one of those rare teams that is top 20 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, which is just kind of insane.
System team.
And they are 90th in tempo, so they can definitely push the ball and get a lot of possessions when they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just really well balanced, good balanced scoring with Marcus Carr, Tyrese Hunter. I really like Texas.
Indiana's pretty Jekyll and Hyde. I feel like they can just beat anybody or lose to anybody. I feel like in the majority of brackets that I fill out, I have them losing to Miami.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to do there with the top of the Midwest section because probably Houston, if Sasser's healthy,
Just runs away with it.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up in the Final Four. But also, Houston hasn't really been able to get over the hump in the NCAA tournament.
That's
like
true.
wherever they're seated, they like fall one game short of actually like realizing their potential.
Yeah.
But they've been a regular in the NCAA tournament recently.
Oh, I have to announce my Elite Eight teams in the West, don't I?
Yeah. What do you got there?
I do have Kansas losing to Gonzaga.
Okay. I don't have either one of those teams in the Elite Eight.
Good for you.
I have UConn, who I really like. Earlier this year, they may be a team that kind of peaked at the wrong time.
Yeah.
They were like the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Like through December.
Are they a system team? I think they're close.
They are, honestly, this year, as far as like the offensive defensive efficiency stats, there's not very many teams. Houston is one of them. They're 11th on offense, 4th on defense. But I feel like Houston has this weird factor playing in the American Conference, and I don't know. Houston has burned me a few times on like looking so incredible on the predictive metrics.
Yeah.
And then just flaming out in the tournament.
Yeah, computers suck.
But UConn, they're there. 6th on offense, 18th on defense. So top 20 in both.
Yeah,
and they have a pretty fantastic big man.
Yeah.
In what's his name?
Alex Oriaki.
Yeah. I can't find him. Alex Oriaki.
Yeah. I think UConn is one of the best value teams in the field, to be completely honest, and I have them actually winning the national championship in a couple of brackets I filled out. I think they're just really, really good, and they could get hot.
And I love UCLA. I think people would be picking Gonzaga from like name recognition almost.
Yeah.
A little too much. Maybe UCLA will get the same treatment a little bit, but UCLA under Mick Cronin, they've got it going. I mean, 18-2 in the Pac-12, not the best conference, but they were blowing teams out. When they were supposed to win, they would crush teams defensively.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just lost their second leading scorer and probably some think the best defensive player in the country to an Achilles injury, so he's obviously not playing.
What is that? Do you remember his name?
I don't off the top of my head, but I could probably tell you who it is.
Is it Clark?
Yes.
Jalen Clark?
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's a big loss.
That is. He was one of the highest like steal guys in the country and still posted an offensive rating of 115. So he was very well balanced. So yeah, that could hurt them for sure. So who do you have? Take me back to the Midwest region real quick. Tell me who are your Elite Eight teams there?
Houston and Iowa State.
Okay, so who, if you're not picking Iowa State there, who do you like? Texas?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Texas and Xavier would be a really fun matchup, but yeah, I'd probably take Texas there most of the time.
Okay, so my Final Four, I have Alabama, Kentucky, Xavier, and UCLA. Who do you got?
So you had what was that? What were the seeds for those 4 teams?
1 seed Alabama, 6 seed Kentucky, 3 seed Xavier, 2 seed UCLA.
Okay, so pretty balanced. Only 1 seed.
Yeah.
I have Arizona beating Alabama.
Okay.
So 2 seed Arizona in the South. I have 5 seed Duke beating Marquette. 1 seed Houston beating Iowa State, and 3 seed Gonzaga beating Kansas for the Final Four.
Yeah. I like that. One random thing that I saw recently for Purdue and Marquette, I think it might have been Bart Torvik himself that tweeted this. But
his human form?
Yes, Bart Torvik, not the computer, not .com. He tweeted, I'm pretty sure it was him, that, okay, go with me here. There's never been a 1 or 2 seed that was not ranked in the preseason top 25 that has made the Final Four. Purdue and Marquette both They're 1 and 2 seed in the same region.
Yeah.
Both were not in the preseason top 25.
That's insane. I never would have guessed that about Purdue, especially.
Yeah.
But I guess I kind of remember that a little bit.
Maybe I do too, but I'm just completely going off of my
data
memory of
points
this tweet
since then,
and hoping it's correct.
Oh no, I don't think it's. I don't think you're wrong about the tweet. It's just crazy that Purdue was not expected to be good when they have this much talent returning.
So that random stat would dictate that Purdue and Marquette do not make the Final Four, but there's a first. There could be a first for everything.
They could play each other too.
Yeah. But I really do. I like Marquette's style of play, the under Shaka Smart. It's almost like he has, over his various stops, his various coaching stints, he has kind of like figured out the perfect version of his system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this Marquette team might be the best team he could maybe ever have.
Yeah,
like getting a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Crazy good on offense for sure.
What's your national championship game?
I have Arizona beating Gonzaga.
Interesting. I have UCLA beating Alabama. Will UCLA be able to overcome that injury?
They could.
I don't know.
Still could.
And you're talking about like the strategies for the bracket groups and stuff. I feel like, picking West Coast teams has a little bit of an advantage because our audience isn't going to be as familiar with them. I'm kind of banking on that.
That's possible.
They are now. Yeah, I shot myself in the foot by picking Alabama because it probably, they're the overall number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So,
but this field still is not as top heavy as tournaments have been in the past. I still think that, Alabama probably has the best odds to win, but they're much lower than any. There's no like 30% chance to win team out there or anything like that. So it's pretty open, and there's honestly probably like 5 to 10 different teams that could win it, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
just watching Alabama this year from the perspective of a Mizzou fan, it does feel like, how does this team lose to anybody?
Yeah. Brandon Miller seems like the best player in the country, which he might be.
Producer Cameron, who you like in the Final Four for your podcast bracket?
I have Alabama, Kansas State, Houston, and Kansas.
Okay.
But that's as far as they get.
Well, only the Final Four. Okay, we got a new villain this year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So then what's your national championship game?
Alabama beating Houston.
Alabama beating Houston. I honestly, if Sasser's healthy and plays, I feel like this could be Houston's year. But like I said, like when they've been a number 1 seed, they don't make the Final Four.
Yep.
When they're a 5 seed, lose in the second round. Like it's just.
They did make the Final Four 2 years ago and got destroyed by Baylor.
Yeah. It always just feels like wherever the hype is for Houston, they fall just short.
Yep.
This could be the year, though.
Could be.
I do have a rematch of Alabama and Missouri in the Elite Eight.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Okay.
Maybe not.
We got to be rooting for Princeton, I think, to make that happen. I also, to jump back up there to the South region, I kind of like NC State. I've got them winning 2 games in this bracket in particular.
I'm kind of the opposite. I really like Creighton. I think they're pretty well balanced, and I think I've got them going to the Sweet 16.
I'm a former Missouri Valley homer, so.
Okay.
You think Doug McDermott's going to be walking through that door? Probably not.
Are you picking Oral Roberts in any? I feel like they're going to be the most.
Yeah.
They're going to be the trendiest upset.
Man, they're so fun.
Right?
Probably. But they're playing Duke, which is just like the ultimate brand name.
Yeah, but people love Duke losing, right?
I guess.
Some people.
But if they're like trying to win the picks, then they probably will pick Duke.
Yeah, but I think people just like to, they pick what's fun.
They want to.
I think.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts, former Arkansas Razorback Connor Vanover.
Oh, yeah.
Plays for Oral Roberts.
He's going to be torching Duke.
I want to see Vanover and what's the other guy's name?
Max Asmus.
Yeah, I want to see them just terrorize Duke.
They probably will.
I got to pick Oral Roberts in a few of my brackets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Anything else about this NCAA tournament you want to talk about? How will it be officiated? That was brought up in the Discord. And
not like the SEC.
Okay,
games.
explain.
Just let him play.
That benefits Missouri, I think, in this matchup.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
I don't care how you officiate it. Missouri,
Just be consistent.
Missouri is going to destroy Utah State in a turnover battle. I really think so.
Yeah.
But now,
They're gonna destroy your hopes and dreams if you get too high on it, though.
that's what
That's what they do.
That's what this time of year is for. Let me be
Just go all
pragmatic.
in.
Let me be pragmatic and like defensive and planning
Guarded.
for the worst and hoping. Let me do all of that all season long.
Okay.
Let me try to break out of that for this.
Football recruiting, Luther Burden.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were very guarded about that. It's okay. It's okay. It worked out.
Sometimes you go all in and it works and you're happy. Okay? That's what I'm trying to do here.
Okay. I support you fully.
Missouri Sports Pod 2023 Bracket Challenge. Join us. Dethrone Kyle.
On the ESPN.
ESPN Tournament Challenge.
Tournament Challenge app.
Southeast Missouri State lost by 4.
Damn.
Made a game of it.
I thought they were really going to give Alabama a run for their money in the first round.
Yeah.
Anything else before we head out?
That's it.
We're undecided right now what we'll do recording wise. We may hop in for something if Missouri wins. We might just see it through the weekend and then recap. We'll see. But special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Oh, and new Patreon supporter at the $10 level. I got to look up his Patreon name. I'll circle back around to that. Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, and Brandon Hanks. Thank you.
You want me to say my thing?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, guys. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Matthew Tilley. He's been subscribed. He's been subscribed for a while now, hanging out with us in Discord. He said if Missouri wins a NCAA tournament game, he's going to up his pledge to $10.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Just bumping right up to the
we
VIP
were all riding
level.
high after that Tennessee game, and he just went ahead and did it. Pulled the trigger. Newest $10 supporter. Thanks, Matt. We love you.
We love you.
We love you all, and we will see you next week after a win or 2 or 4.